Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ken MacKenzie, and I'm your chair. Hello and welcome to BHP's 2024 Annual General Meeting. And first, let me thank Shannon Ruska for that warm welcome to country. He's going to be a very hard act to follow. I'd like to acknowledge that these are the traditional lands of the Yagara and Turrbal people who have a deep connection to the lands and waterways of Brisbane. We extend our respect to their elders past and present, and welcome to you, our shareholders. Now, we're delighted to be together in person in Brisbane today. And the last annual general meeting we had in Brisbane was in 2016, and I have to say it's been too long. I think COVID got in the way. It sort of delayed things for a couple of years, but we're really pleased to be back. We've got 100,000 Queenslander shareholders in this state that hold over 170 million shares. So it's aside from the operations that we have here, it's a really important destination for us. Now, today I'm joined on stage by my fellow directors, including Chief Executive Officer Mike Henry and our Group Company Secretary Stephanie Wilkinson. We also have our external auditors from Ernst & Young and our Chief Financial Officer, Vandita Pant, who's in attendance as well as members of our executive leadership team. Now, a special welcome to Ross McEwen and Don Lindsay, who are joining their first BHP AGM as directors. Ross and Don are both seeking election at the 2024 AGM, and the remaining directors will seek re-election in line with our policy for annual director elections. I'd also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge Ian Cockerell, who retired from the board in April 2024, and Terry Bowen, who retired in October 2023. Now, I can confirm that there is a quorum present, and as the time is shortly after 10 a.m. in Brisbane, we can now start the meeting. The notice of this annual general meeting was made available to shareholders on the 23rd of September 2024, and I'm going to take it as read. The poll is now open for all of the items to be considered at today's meeting, and you may now start casting your votes. I'll also give you a warning before the end of the meeting to ensure that you're able to cast your votes. Our Group Company Secretary, Stephanie Wilkinson, will outline the procedures for voting at today's AGM later in the meeting. So again, welcome to everyone with us here today in Queensland and watching the webcast online. As I said, we're proud to have around 100,000 shareholders in Queensland who hold over 170 million shares, and it's good to have many of you joining us here today. And of course, Queensland is also home to around 10,000 BHP employees and contractors, as well as our partnership with Mitsubishi in the BMA joint venture. BMA is a great business, and Queenslanders can be proud of the high-quality steelmaking coal it produces for customers in India, Japan, South Korea, and China. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to be here to address you as the chair of BHP. Now, I've chaired several BHP annual general meetings now in different cities, in person and online through COVID, and I'm always left energized by your passion for and interest in the company. Stewarding BHP is an honor that your board and I and our executive leaders take extremely seriously. And we understand that it's the combination of outstanding people, world-class assets, and execution excellence that gives BHP the opportunity to create long-term value for our shareholders and for the communities in which we all live. In these areas, we believe your company continues to set itself apart. And we hope you are all as confident and excited about the future for BHP as we are. Financial year 2024 was a strong one. We performed well financially and made solid progress on our social value targets and goals. And we showed once again that the consistent execution of our clear and simple strategy delivers results. And BHP is well positioned to continue to create value today and for decades to come. And I'd like to take this opportunity to explain why focusing on 4 fundamentals: a safe, inclusive, and productive workplace culture, a portfolio of world-class assets and attractive commodities, disciplined capital allocation, and the creation of social value. And I want to start with safety. In January, a team member with one of our contracting partners here in Queensland lost his life at work. Now, Luke O'Brien's death was a tragedy, and our thoughts remain with his family and colleagues at BMA. We must eliminate fatalities and serious injuries from BHP, and nothing matters more than safety. Further, we remain determined to eliminate sexual harassment, racism, and bullying in our workplace. We know diverse and inclusive teams are safer, they're more productive, and that's why we are working to make BHP a place where everyone can bring the best of themselves to work. Now, the board saw this spirit firsthand when we visited our potash project in Saskatchewan, Canada earlier this year, and our Jansen workforce showed a deep value in keeping each other safe. Jansen is a project of enormous scale and ambition, and it's a great example of how we're positioning our global portfolio for success. Success in a world that is increasingly volatile. And over the past year, the world has experienced ongoing humanitarian crises in the Middle East, Ukraine, and Sudan, threats to the continued expansion of global trade by a new wave of protectionism, a range of consequential elections across the globe that are reshaping the policy landscape. And in our operations, we're seeing the lagging effects of inflation, an uneven recovery in China, and supply-side surpluses for some commodities, which is contributing to price volatility. And we faced these challenges earlier in the year when we made the tough but necessary decision to place our Nickel West operations and West Musgrave project into temporary suspension. In our view, the best way to create enduring value for shareholders amid all this turbulence is to hold a mix of high-quality, resilient assets and to run them exceptionally well. And I am optimistic about our ability to manage through these challenges as the long-term fundamentals for the broader resources sector remain strong. Mining has an undeniable role to play in providing the metals and minerals the world needs to continue to develop and decarbonize. And the global trends shaping our future are interconnected, unstoppable, and bring with them new challenges and opportunities for our sector. And that's why we have been deliberately and methodically reshaping our portfolio to increase our exposure to future-facing commodities and higher quality steelmaking materials. We've achieved a world-leading position in copper, which is key to renewable energy, electric vehicles, and increasingly, data centers. We're developing a position in potash that will contribute to food security and more sustainable land use to help feed a global population that is expected to near 10 billion by 2050. We've focused our steelmaking coal portfolio on higher quality coals. These are preferred by our customers who use our steelmaking coal and iron ore to produce steel, which is needed to build cities and infrastructure for decarbonization. And of course, our iron ore business is a critical part of our future, and we have extended our lead as the lowest cost major iron ore producer globally, and we continue to see opportunities for greater efficiencies to unlock even more value. So today we have a portfolio and options for growth that leave us well positioned to provide the commodities the world will need more of in the decades to come. This augurs well for our future, but we have not lost sight of value for today as we continue to deliver strong earnings and returns. In the 2024 financial year, our underlying EBITDA was $29 billion. We continue to produce strong margins and a consistently high baseline of cash flow. In fact, this is the 8th consecutive year where we've achieved a margin greater than 50% and generated average net operating cash flows of over $20 billion per year. This demonstrates the consistency of our earnings despite the cyclical volatility in the resources sector. Now, I'm a firm believer in capital allocation discipline as the backbone of a successful business, and many of you will have heard Mike Henry and myself talk about BHP's capital allocation framework. This framework prioritizes safety and maintenance capital, balance sheet strength, and a minimum 50% payout ratio for dividends. And accordingly, the board has determined dividends totaling $7.4 billion to shareholders for the year. Over the past 5 years, our total shareholder return was approximately 15% per annum, and included delivering more than $50 billion in cash dividends to our shareholders. Now, this is more than any other miner in the world, and it's a testament to the durability of our portfolio and the consistency of our operational excellence. Now, importantly, we are also creating significant financial value in the communities in which we work and live. And in the 2024 financial year, our total global economic contribution was over $49.2 billion. And this included $25.3 billion with suppliers, $11.2 billion in payments to governments through income taxes, royalties, and other payments, and $4.8 billion of wages, incentives, and benefits to our employees. The value we create with our partners and stakeholders is critical to our success. It's what we call social value. And social value means creating long-term mutual benefit for our people, partners, and local communities. And we've formalized the way we deliver it through the BHP Social Value Framework, which we launched in June 2022. The framework is focused on 6 pillars: decarbonization, the environment, Indigenous partnerships, our workforce, communities, and responsible supply chains. It supports progress towards real outcomes, improved access to employment and economic opportunities in host communities, improved talent pipelines for the industry, increased action on environmental issues, and partnerships for mutual benefit. And this is a reinforcing loop. By setting goals and holding ourselves to account, we push ourselves to get better every year. And this is designed to progressively create more social value, build more trust, and further strengthen relationships. And as a result, we can open doors to new opportunities and partnerships, increase our access to the best resources, business partners, markets, and importantly, talent. Now, one relevant and tangible example of social value in action is our relationship with the Barada Barna people here in Queensland. Our relationship with traditional owners and other Indigenous partners are some of the most important relationships we have. The BMA joint venture operates on the traditional lands of the Barada Barna, and we've recently reached a new Indigenous land use agreement. For the Barada Barna, this agreement will deliver long-term benefits for the community through investment in employment, education, business, and contracting. And for BMA, it provides vital business certainty and will deepen our relationship with the Barada Barna people. Climate is another area we can make a difference, while also growing long-term shareholder value. As you know, at our full-year results, we shared our latest Climate Transition Action Plan, and it reaffirms our commitment to play our part in the global effort to address climate change, and it details our efforts towards becoming a more sustainable and resilient business. BHP has been setting and achieving targets for operational greenhouse gas emissions since the 1990s. And we're on track to meet our operational greenhouse gas emissions target of at least a 30% reduction by 2030 against our 2020 baseline. And we're developing pathways for our long-term goal to achieve net zero operational greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. And importantly, we continue to collaborate with customers and suppliers to support their efforts to lower greenhouse gas emissions in our value chain. Now, since we released our plan in August, we have engaged with many shareholders and stakeholders, and we thank you for that engagement and hope to secure your support for the plan when we get to the Say on Climate vote. Last Friday, we announced a final settlement agreement in Brazil to resolve the key claims by the Brazilian public authorities relating to Samarco's Fundão dam failure. The dam failure was and remains a tragedy and will never be forgotten, and we are deeply sorry for the loss of life and damage it caused, and we know that nothing can undo the impacts it caused. BHP has always been committed to supporting Samarco and the Renova Foundation to do what's right for the people, communities, and environment affected. And this comprehensive settlement agreement with Brazilian public authorities is another step that reflects that strong commitment. Now, the settlement agreement is in line with BHP's existing Samarco dam failure provision of $6.5 billion US, and no update is required to the existing provision at this time. Before I conclude, I'd like to note some important changes to our board since last year's AGM. As I mentioned earlier, Ian Cockrell and Terry Bowen retired from the board during the year, and we acknowledge their significant contribution to BHP during their time with us. We also had Ross McEwen and Don Lindsay join the board this year, and shareholders will have the opportunity to hear from both of them at today's meeting. Ross and Don are deeply experienced business leaders, and we welcome their skills and perspectives on our board. Now, as I mentioned at the start of my address, we are living in a world which is increasingly volatile. However, we have great optimism in what lies ahead. As the world's population grows, seeks a higher standard of living, and advances the energy transition, demand for the commodities we produce is set to endure and grow. With our world-class portfolio, we are well placed to provide more of the commodities the world needs in the decades ahead. As we do, we will continue to drive a culture of safe and reliable operations. We will maintain rigorous capital discipline, and we will continue to build social value, which is vital for sustainable long-term shareholder returns. So thank you for your continued support and for investing in the future of BHP. It's now my pleasure to invite your CEO, Mike Henry, to speak with you.
Well, thank you, Ken, and thank you to everyone here with us in Queensland today and watching online. I'm looking forward to taking you through some of this year's highlights and talking about what I believe makes BHP a successful company worthy of your ongoing support. But first, I would like to echo Ken's acknowledgement of the loss of a colleague at Saraji earlier this year. Nothing is more important than the safety of our people. We've concluded our investigation and identified improvements at Saraji and for BMA, and we're working to implement them at BMA across the company and indeed to share them with the industry. We remain resolute in our commitment to eliminating fatalities and serious injuries at BHP. And that commitment to doing what is right is one of our values, and it extends to everything we do. Last week, I was in Brazil to finalize the Samarco settlement agreement that Ken referenced earlier. I also visited the community of Novo Bento Rodrigues for the second time and saw firsthand the progress made in resettling those displaced by the dam failure. We can never undo the hurt and sorrow caused by the tragic events of 2015. However, this agreement is another significant step forward. Approximately 500,000 people will be eligible for individual compensation under the new system, which will be faster, easier, and more certain. The agreement will support ongoing programs benefiting the environment and health, and it will support socio-economic revitalization. It is wholly reflective of the values that we seek to uphold. 2024 was another year of strong delivery at BHP, of disciplined execution of our clear, simple strategy, and continued progress on shaping our portfolio for the future. In doing so, we have pursued our purpose of bringing people and resources together to build a better world. And I want to focus on our purpose for a moment and build on what Ken said about the opportunities for the world that are underpinned by our people, partners, and assets. And specifically, I want to outline what we mean when we talk about building a better world. Let's look at the global shifts BHP's key commodities support. Rising living standards and food security for a growing population. Better and more livable cities for an increasingly urbanized world. The world's net zero ambition and the rewiring of our energy networks. Our iron ore, copper, steelmaking coal, and potash support the pursuit of a very basic human instinct to improve the lives of generations that come after us. Billions of people seeking higher standards of living is an enduring source of demand, and one that we are all proud to play a role in delivering. Infrastructure and electrification that make our cities better, safer, and more livable. Data centers to power the artificial intelligence boom, which will underpin new technologies and enable greater and greater innovation. Increasing productivity from decreasing arable land, meaning more and better food for more people around the globe. What we produce matters, and how we seek to do it matters too. I hope our shareholders are proud to be here with us as we move forward with our strategy. And I hope you see that our progress has purpose. Governments around the world are focused on how they deliver progress for their nations too. We think markets work best when global trade and economic cooperation are prioritized. A focus on economic fundamentals, competitiveness, productivity, investment certainty allows capital to find its best use and stimulate growth, removing barriers to trade, not building them, allowing capital to flow where it's most needed. Regional and national economies working effectively as more than the sum of their parts. BHP will continue to engage constructively with governments around the world to advocate for policy settings that drive the competitiveness of their economies, benefit their citizens, create jobs, and encourage businesses to grow. Of course, value-adding growth is firmly on our agenda at BHP too, and it is underpinned by our track record of strong business performance in recent years. In financial year 24, we achieved production records at a number of our assets, and we widened our lead as the world's lowest cost iron ore producer. And this is a credit to the more than 90,000 employees and contractors who work so hard to build a better BHP every day. I can't speak strongly enough about the importance of operational excellence to our success. We invest heavily in the capability of our people. Our BHP operating system, the way our people work from the mine site to the office, is a genuine competitive advantage and a source of great pride across many parts of our business. The solid operational performance of our workforce delivered, along with higher prices in key commodities, helped us to deliver dividends totaling 146 US cents, or about 220 Australian cents per share for the year. Since financial year 2021, BHP has paid the most dividends of any mining company globally, and in fact has been one of the highest dividend payers across all industries. Our performance also allows us to plan for and invest in value-adding growth projects. Now, as we've done that, we've continued to reshape our portfolio to position BHP for the future. This deliberate strategy gives the company and our shareholders greater exposure to commodities that will stand to benefit as global megatrends play out around us. We've strengthened our already very strong position in copper, and we're exploring further growth around the world, like in South Australia, where we could grow copper production to around 500,000 tons a year, with further potential upside of up to 650,000. At Escondida, already the world's largest copper mine, where we have potential to add around 200,000 tons per year, and at the Filo del Sol and Jose Maria projects in Argentina and Chile, where we will seek to advance through a 50-50 joint venture with Lundin Mining after our joint acquisition of Filo Corp. We expect completion of that transaction in the March 2025 quarter, subject to regulatory approvals, and we will have the opportunity to advance what we consider to be one of the most significant copper discoveries in decades. Now, in nickel, conditions have been more challenging, and we took the difficult but necessary decision to temporarily suspend our Western Australian nickel business. We are continuing to invest to enable a potential restart at Western Australian nickel if the market outlook improves, and we'll review the decision by February 2027. Across in Canada, construction of Stage 1 of our Jansen Potash project is more than halfway complete and ahead of original schedule, and we've begun to execute on Stage 2. First production from Jansen is only around 2 years away. And by the end of the decade, we expect to be one of the leading players in the potash industry globally. And this will feed into a global market which is expected to grow strongly for decades. Jansen is set to become a world-class asset in an investment-friendly jurisdiction and to create value for generations to come. These decisions are consistent with our strategy, which is clear and simple. We have a differentiated portfolio of the best assets in the most attractive commodities, and we operate them excellently and apply discipline to our allocation of capital. The precise execution of this strategy underpins our results and our shareholder returns. Resources is a cyclical industry, and the stability of our strategy and the reliability of our execution make for a durable and resilient business. We heard earlier from Ken about growing volatility in the world. And I speak regularly with investors, customers, and partners around the globe, so I know that we're not alone in believing this will continue for the foreseeable future. In this global context, there is stability and resilience in our size, the quality of our assets, and the strength of our partnerships. A strong balance sheet and diversified commodity base helps to shield us against the cyclical nature of our sector and geopolitical uncertainty. It also leaves us well placed to work with smaller miners and explorers to bring new deposits to market faster and with less risk in execution. And in doing all of this, we can continue to deliver strong margins and cash flow. And BHP's record stacks up well. Over the past decade, BHP's margin has averaged around 55%. That's over 10 percentage points higher than the average of the next closest competitor. The creation of social value is integral as well to our strategy and to delivery of long-term shareholder value. I spoke earlier about the irrefutable need for mining as we work towards our future. And if the starting point is that we need more of these resources, then the bigger questions are who should bring them to market and how. In our view, it will be large, diversified miners like BHP with the balance sheet strength, track record of operational excellence, and social value credentials who will increasingly play that role. When we create social value, we build our case as the preferred partner for communities and governments, we gain access to more opportunities, and we attract the best talent. The impact of our social value approach on our current and future workforce is invaluable. It's making our workforce more inclusive and diverse, which drives better outcomes in safety and productivity. And it's building a pipeline of future talent in highly skilled roles that will help support productivity and keep economies, including Australia's, strong. This includes BHP's Future Fit Academy, established as part of our Operations Services, Mining Services organization at a cost of $300 million in Mackay here in Queensland and in Western Australia. The Academy has already graduated more than 750 new-to-industry Australians, providing them with skills for the future and a high-paying job with BHP from day one. Our social value approach also drives tangible results for the communities and suppliers vital to our business and to livelihoods in the regions where we operate. This year, we spent more than $3.3 billion with more than 2,600 small, local, and Indigenous businesses, up 9% on last year. Here in Australia, our local buying program, which was established first here in Queensland, has more than 1,500 registered suppliers, and we've approved over 90,000 work packages worth over 1 billion Australian dollars since its launch in 2012. Finally, we also made further progress on our operational decarbonization plans, and as Ken noted, we remain on track to meet our operational greenhouse gas emissions target of at least a 30% reduction by financial year 2030 against a financial year 2020 baseline. This is valuable work that benefits our shareholders, our partners, and every economy in which we operate. It's an example of how at BHP we think and plan in decades. We're focused on creating value now and into the medium and long term. And that mindset continues to serve our shareholders, employees, and partners well. Again, ladies and gentlemen, what this company does matters. Our work and your support of it through your investment in BHP is vital to building the future we all want for generations to come, all while maintaining our focus on operational performance, disciplined capital allocation, and value creation for shareholders and communities. This is a great company performing well and made up of people who want to make a difference. I'm excited about the years ahead and confident that BHP will continue to deliver value to you, our shareholders. Thank you for your ongoing support.